Mr. President, distinguished colleague, my name is Senator Lawal Adamu Usman, representing the good people of Kaduna Central. I rise to lead the debate on the compulsory basic education. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, permit me to lead the debate on the general principle of the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act 2004, Amended Bill 2024. This bill was read the first time on 24 September 2024. The UBE got a legal backing in 2004 with the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education and Other Related Matters Act 2004. The Act established the Universal Basic Education Commission as the federal government intervention agency through which federal government contribute to basic education implementation is channeled to state and FCT and require every state assembly and national assembly in the case of FCT to enact law establishing their state Universal Basic Education Board, SBEB, and local government education authorities to ensure, among others, that A, school-age children have access to complete basic education, processing literacy, numeracy, and basic life skills to contribute to national development. B, basic education teachers have equally training with a minimum of the Nigerian Certificate in Education, NCE, and basic education school have conducive teaching and learning environment, and all categories of learners are provided equitable, ample opportunity irrespective of their status, gender, and socio-economic background. Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, the Senate Committee on Education, Basic and Secondary had a retreat on 6 July 2004 on the mandate activities, progress, challenges, and review of the Enabling Act of the Universal Basic Education Commission, organized by the Commission and with other critical stakeholders in attendance. The retreat revealed that the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act enacted in 2004 is enacted and not intended with the political and socio-economic realities of the time, but has received any amendment since it enacted. The bill is indeed being sponsored by all members of the committee, Mr. President. The amendment of the UBEC Act is therefore predicted on the argument need to overhaul the basic education sector, address an overwhelming impending need in basic education, bringing the Act in tandem with realities of the time, and address the identify key issues, challenges hindering the successful implementation of the Universal Basic Education in Nigeria by the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, as issue of out-of-school children, about 20.5 million UNESCO estimate 2022. Non-inclusion of early child care development and education, which are crucial aspects of children's lives that lay foundation for their future growth and success. Lack of adequate school infrastructure based on 2024 UBEC National Personnel Audit Report of a total of 706 classes are required to conform to the pupil classroom ratio at primary level, while the JSS level, the deficit to be filled stand at 2,805 classrooms. Inadequate and low access to funding, such as non-allocation of additional funds for basic education by most states, but reliance only on the intervention by the federal government without matching it with the financial support, thereby eroding and stranded in public schools. Delay in release of allocated funds causing late implementation of the program. Failure by the state to assess the or utilize grant due to inability, unwillingness, or refusal to pay their 50% counterpart funding. The total amount of unassessed matching grant due to state between 2005 and 2018 was over 72 billion. This backlog 2005-2018 unassessed fund was cleared following the presidential directive in 2019 that counterpart funding outstanding against the state should be deducted from their parties' refund and credited to UBEC account, and thereafter state could assess their matching grant. To note that the period of idleness of fund witnessed huge gap in schools infrastructure and instructional material provision from 2019 to November 30, 2023. The unassessed matching grant has accumulated to 22 billion 790,280,908.7. The affected following funds to accumulate and remain unassessed include decrease in value of unassessed funds due to inflation, increase in level of dilapidation of school infrastructure which require huge resources to fix, and keep funding for any unutilized for more than 2 years is against the principle of public accountability. Inadequate comprehensive sanction available to the Commission under the UBEC Act to enforce regulations, policies, and strategies basic education under the UBEC Act is a right and of the Nigerian Child Section 1 UBE Act 2004, the African Charter on Human Rights and People Rights Gap A9, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004 also makes education of Nigerian child a right under Article 17. It is therefore authoritative that the UBEC Act contains provision to sanction states that do not provide the necessary infrastructure, conducive environment for basic education delivery. Gap in the Act on how the UBEC intervention fund can be disbursed directly to local government, even though the Act provides for the establishment of local government education authority in each local government and assign them roles and responsibility in the UBEC implementation. Currently, funds are disbursed to states through their SUBEB, and the bond determine how to utilize the fund. It should be noted that the local government are responsible for primary education provision, and given the financial autonomy to local government by this amended constitution, it is therefore necessary that a percentage of the intervention fund be disbursed directly to the local government through their local government education authorities. The application of the agreed sharing formula by the Federal Executive Council, which does not empower UBEC to intervene directly, invest or otherwise utilize the funds that have not been assessed by the state except by approved sharing formula. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in order to address those issues, the bill seeks to amend the following section of the Act. 1. Amendment Section 214 of the Principal Act to include early child care development and education to right to a child to compulsory free universal basic education. Increase the scope stakeholder for compliance and fine for non-compliance. B. Amendment Section 3 of the Principal Act for free services in public early child care development, education, increase in fine for non-compliance, and inclusion of local government education authority as an enforcement of authority. C. Amendment Section 7.2 of the Principal Act to substitute the membership of Commission to be appointed by the President on the recommendation of the Minister of Education for clarity. D. Amendment Section 9 of the Principal Act to strengthen the function of the Commission for swift implementation of its mandate to ensure that the grant to state, local government, and other relevant agencies implementing the UBEC adhere strictly to approved formula as provided in the Act. E. Amendment Section number 11 of the Principal Act to increase the funding of the compulsory free universal basic education in Nigeria from 2% to 5% of the consolidated revenue fund stipulated in formula for the application of fund, provide for forfeiture of the grant by state or for failure to assess the grant and how to utilize the forfeited grant. F. Amended Section 16 of the Principal Act to bring short title in tandem with the amendment proposed. Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, in line with Order 17 rules of 3 of the Senate Standing Order 2004 as amended and without prejudice to provision and financial implication of the bill, if amended, subject to national annual accrual in the consolidated revenue and fund approval of the national budget by the National Assembly, and therefore needed not to be attached. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I therefore passionately solicit your support in considering and passage of this bill, which seeks to amend the Principal Act to enable the early child care development and education strengthen states to meet their commitment to the federal government block grant and enable states and the Universal Basic Education Commission fully implement and actualize the compulsory and free universal basic education for all children of primary and junior secondary school age in Federal Republic of Nigeria. I thank you, Mr. President, and distinguished colleagues.